This is 2OF Entertainment.
You saw that, right? That wasn't just me. I know I like sci-fi and flying cars and stuff. You saw that, right? That was a flying car in the screen. Hi guys, and today I've got for you the new Polestar 4. This is a brand new car from Polestar. Now, you probably know that they've got a Polestar 2 and a Polestar 3. So you're thinking that the Polestar 4 probably sits above that. Well, not really. This full-size luxury SUV coupe thingy actually slots between the two cars, because weirdly enough, it's actually shorter and lower, although wider, than the Polestar 3. So it's sort of a more sportier version than that. Talking of sporty, this is the fastest Polestar ever. As you can see, the 400 kilowatt that it says on the side actually translates to about 544 brake horsepower. That gives this a 0 to 62 miles per hour acceleration time of just 3.7 seconds. A lot of supercars couldn't do that back in the day. It's a big old thing, 4.84 meters long, and it weighs nearly 2.3 tons. They're building these in South Korea. Now, lots of sustainability stuff on this car. Interior is made with bio-attributed microtech recycled materials. We'll get into all of that when we get into the car. How much is it? Well, the base model, they start from just under £67,000. That's a lot of money. But once you've loaded it up, and you will inevitably want to because you like all the kit on these things, right? Things like metallic paint that it's got on here, pilot pack, plus pack, body colored cladding, privacy glass. Once you've added all of that into this particular car, this is over £71,500. It does drive all four wheels, and it will give you 367 mile range, a 367 mile range on a full charge. I will of course put all the specs and all the info on this car on the screen. Now, the big thing about this car that you probably will notice, no rear window. So how do you cope with that? Well, it's got a high resolution camera on the back, which I'll show you, and plus it's got a digital rear view mirror. And once we drive the car, we'll get into how that feels on the go. As usual, we'll take a look around the car, we'll check out the boot space, we'll check out the interior rear, interior front, and of course, we'll take it for a drive. It's a pretty sleek, futuristic looking car, as you'd expect. There's the Polestar logo. There's the first of many, many cameras that you're going to find on this car. You've got the Thor headlights here, pixel tech, if you go for the plus pack, which of course this car has got on it. Oh, it's optional extra. And then over here, you've got these massive 20-inch rims, huge wheels on this car. These ones are equipped with P0 tires on this one. That, again, is a camera. This is where it identifies what it actually is. Now, these mirrors are interesting because they actually fold in. But when you think about the fact that this is the edge that actually stays there, and this is the bit that folds in, well, you only lose about 1.5 inches. So I don't see what the point is. But anyway, they fold in. You can see this huge expanse here. You can see the contoured bottom side that sort of tries to tighten up the waist to make it feel not so fat. But it has that coupe-like profile that comes all the way down to the back here. By the way, the color on this car is called Electron. I think it's just blue. I think it's just light blue. It's metallic. I think it's just light blue. You see how the mirror has gone in here. See, that's just gone in here, and you see the distance. It only just clears that, so that still sticks out. Now, the thing about this car is that I have a key fob in my pocket. There's the key fob, if you can see. The key fob has no buttons at all. So the thing purely works on sensors. It's a bit hit and miss. I think there's a sensor here. So it's supposed to be able to detect when you approach the car and then open it, but sometimes you have to touch it. I have to say a couple of times it hasn't worked, and I've just been standing there punching it. This is the charging, goes in there, and as you can see, you've got the usual 2-bit thing. Press the button to close it. Over here we have a full width light bar at the back here. Now, of course, this is the thing. No rear window. Instead, you have like a panel here. No rear window at all. Instead, you have these two cameras here. So you got these cameras, and they're saying that this is the best depth quality, best resolution that they've ever had on a reversing camera. So it does have an interior rear view mirror. So we'll give that a go on when we drive the car. Now, let's look at the boot. Now the boot has no release at all. There's no buttons or anything on here. So the way you have to do it is this. And I gotta be honest, that never works for me. I think it's worked once on this car. Oh, there you go, second time. It's worked the second time. So when it does open, you have a massive boot. Now the only other way I should say to open this boot is there is a button inside, but it's on the screen, and I'll show you that when we get into the car. So the interior of this car, as you can see, pretty handy. 526 liters of luggage space in the back here. If you drop the 60/40 split folding rear seats, you have 1500 liters of space. Now you got a little bit of a lip over here to get stuff in, but it's quite flat, quite useful. Over here you've got a double floor. I don't know if you can mount this. No, you can, so you can put it down as well. There's cables are obstructing it, but if I took the cables out, you could actually put the floor down further and give yourself a little bit more height there, but then you have quite a bit of a lip there. You do, however, have a compartment here for the cables, as you can see, and once I get this in, then that actually is going to take up the extra room that the floor is taking in its regular position, which is just about here. You've got a massive speaker here. It's got an incredible Harman Kardon sound system on there, a couple of lights, a power supply there, a button there to drop the rear seats, and an area to keep your, well, cleaning stuff, as we've got there at the moment. I like this. No rear window, but instead you get an embossed Polestar logo. Right, this is actually my first time in the back of this Polestar 4, and I gotta say, with this seat set for me, I'm 6'1.5" with long legs. That driver's seat is set for me. So with that being the case, that is a ton of room. Look at that. So that's where this wheelbase really comes into effect. That's actually, although it's shorter than the Polestar 3, but I think it's actually got a longer wheelbase. So that actually, look at the amount of space that you got there. The feet are a little bit tight, as you can see. Once you get your feet in there, they're basically stuck in there, but it's okay. This is just a little bit of wiggle room, so it's not too bad. Floor is a little bit higher than you would normally have in a car like this, and again, that's because the battery pack sits in the floor. Now, I think that these seats recline, although where is the control for that? I do not know. There's a vent over here, and it's very keen to tell you about the fact that it's all recycled, because Polestar 4 recycled and sustainable, because it's bio-attributed microtech, 100% fossil-free PVC. That's what we've got in the back here, in this charcoal-colored interior. Now, what do we have here? We do have an armrest, and oh, here we go. The buttons actually are here. This is where the buttons are. I found them. And so here you've got a tray. Does that open? I don't think that opens, but you have a little tray here, and then here I can go, there you go, I can recline. So I can go back, I can go forward. That's quite nice. And additionally, I've got a hook here, I've got reading light here, which I think is touch operated, as you can see. Over here, I get my own screen. And not only can I operate my climate control, so I'm assuming it's at least 2-zone, if not, I think it's quadro-zone, because, no, it must be 3-zone actually, because there's only one setting for back here. Although, the seats do have heated seats at the back as well. So you have heated seats at the back, so that's quite handy, and you can adjust the temperature at the back. 28 is too high. Let's get that down. And then you can also operate the radio. The significant radio system in here, that's, I think, the light system, was that? Now the radio controls are back here, just below these two vents. That can get a little bit annoying because then the rear passengers tend to take over the stereo system. I'm sure there must be some kind of a lockout there. And then you've got two micro USBs here as well. Headroom, considering that this is a coupe shape, again, not too bad, because I've actually got tons of room here. And then you've got this huge panoramic glass roof here as well. And of course, it's kind of weird that there's nothing behind us. There's no glass behind us. It's completely blacked out here. And of course, this has privacy glass at the back here as well. So that's really interesting. What's it like in the front? Let's go find out. Oh, and check out the door handles in the door here. Here we are inside the front of the Polestar 4. Now, as you can see, it's already on. That's because there's no way to turn it off. And unless I got out of the car, locked it and walked away, it would stay on. And then once you approach the car and it unlocks and you get in, it comes on. I gotta say, it takes a little while for these massive screens to warm up. Now this screen here in the middle, this is a 15.4 inch center screen. Over here you've got a 10.2 inch driver display, but you've also got a 14.7 inch, which you won't be able to see. There's a heads up display as well, which gives you a bunch of information here. On here, it's pretty minimalist. So it's giving you how much range you've got, what gear you're in, which is park at the moment, battery percentage, your mileage, and that's about it. The door open, obviously. You can change it. So if you go here, which is not doing, so let me put it into drive, maybe that will do it. Yeah, so over here now you've got a little bit more information as just the warning lights come up, and then you've got attention that the door is open, you've got your battery percentage, seat belt on or off, your gears, that's hill hold, so that's hold, so basically when you're off the brake it just holds your speed, and the signposted speed limit as well. I can adjust that to give me a little even less information, or I can get a map like that, or I can get this diagram where it shows the car, and when you're driving it shows you the traffic around your car as well. So if it's a bike or a car, that comes up on there, which I've always thought, okay, really clever how they do that, but I'm not sure why they do that, because I have eyes and I should be seeing the traffic around me. But anyway, that's what that does. And so I can scroll through that. So there's buttons over here. These take getting used to, so they're sort of touch sensitive. There is some haptic feedback. But these buttons on the steering are pretty much the only buttons that you get in here. There's nothing on here. There's nothing on here. This is all, recycled PET bottle stuff, and all of the material that they use on these cars are all sustainable, all of that sort of stuff. You know, this is where they're getting big on vegan this, vegan that. I mean, vegan leather. I mean, you know, leather is actually sustainable, because the more that we consume meat, the more leather we have. We should just use it. But anyway, vegan leather and all that. So that's what that is. So that's that screen there. And then this screen is a whole other ball game. So I should just say, before we get into that, that's the only button you get. So you do, thankfully, you get a play button, a stop button, that's for the sound system, and you get a volume control as well. So that's about the only thing that you get, so that's handy. You do get a phone charger, so you put your phone in there, and for some reason, and it didn't do that right now, but for some reason every time I put my phone in there, it's activated the banking card. So I don't know if it's trying to take money from me or whatever every time I drive the car, but for some reason it likes to do that. Over here you've got a couple of cup holders. You can close that, make that look nice and neat if you want to, and you've got a cubby box here with pretty deep amount of space there, and also another couple of small USB-Cs as well there. In addition to that, you've got a 2 level, so it's a split level. You've got a lower part here, so lots of room here, a little tray there, a little hole there. You can put it, it's perfect for sunglasses actually. Not sure what that is. Not sure if that comes out or whatever. It looks like it sort of does, but no, I can't really see how that works. Vents are here, vents are here. Now, you're probably thinking, where is the glove box? Well, there is a glove box. And then you're thinking, well, how do I open it? Because there's no button. There's no button here. You've got, again, this textured material here, which it looks nice, feels nice. I do think that's going to get dirty after a few years. But anyway, how do you open this glove box? No idea, right? I challenged my son to do it, and he couldn't figure it out. And I said, well, this is how you do it. There's a button there on the screen. And there you got an average, an okay sized glove box. Not massive, but it's okay, you know? Here's the thing. Everything is centered on this screen. So sit back, this is going to take a while. This is the home screen. You can either go full map or you can go half. Then you've got your shortcuts here. Now the shortcuts include the boot. So this is, like I said, the only other way of actually opening the boot is from this button here. That was for the glove box. This is actually for adjusting the steering. So when I got in the car, I was scrambling around underneath, you know, the usual, looking for that latch or whatever to adjust it. I thought, okay, it hasn't got one, so maybe it's got one of those little knobs, so maybe it's, no, nothing. The only way that you do that is through here. And then once you've selected that, so once I select steering, then I have to press this, and then you can see, well, you should be able to see, right, hang on, left mirror, right mirror, steering wheel. Steering wheel, so we should be able to now see, because that is how that should work, but for some reason it's not doing it. Maybe because the door is open, but it's not doing it. But basically then
it's responsible for some huge...
Quiet. So that is how you actually then adjust the steering. So it adjusts for reach and rake and all that sort of stuff. Similarly, the mirrors. So you have to press that button and then you use again. So I don't know, so the left mirror, right mirror, this is this mirror. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so that is actually, I don't know if you can see it, but that is actually moving it. And if you can see, it moves not just the glass in the mirror, but it moves the entire unit itself. So you can see the pivoting hinge is actually in the base of that unit, and then it moves the entire unit. So that's actually quite unique. and maybe another reason why that's mounted. But I'll tell you what, if anyone knocks that off, oh my God, that's going to be an expensive replacement. So that's one of the things. So there's so many aspects of this where it all adjusts through here. Here's all your controls for that. Speed limit warning lights, Bluetooth connectivity, all the rest of it. Maybe that's why I didn't charge, I didn't connect it. You've got, like I said, your shortcuts there, then you've got your drive. In the drive, you've got creep, hill descent control, stability control, and here's where you can set up how you want the car to feel when you're driving. So I've got the steering set in firm, which is good. I've got the suspension, which is constant activated ZF suspension. I've got it in standard, but you can also have nimble, which is sporty, and then super firm if you really want to go for on a track or something. You got this one here is a one pedal drive. When it was delivered in standard form. So I will talk about this when I'm driving, but in standard form I found it too aggressive. The bike, normally I get on well with one pedal modes, but I found that too aggressive. So I put it into low and it's been fine there, but you can turn it off as well. You've got assist systems here, lane keep assist, blind spot, all the rest of it, just as you would expect. That's your charging information, 73%, 268 mile range still. I have not charged it since I've had it arrived at, I think it was 93% I had it on. Your sound system, it's got a 12 speaker Harman Kardon sound system on this thing, massively powerful, sounds great. Exterior controls, interior controls, settings over here. This is where you connect your phone and stuff like that. This is where you get the camera, so that's quite handy. As you can see, a full 360-degree camera there, and you can see where the edges of the car are and stuff like that. It does of course have sensors and warnings, and one of the things I found that they're very, very they set off immediately. So the moment, and again, we're driving in London, so we tend to get close to traffic and to other cars and whatever, and they're just paranoid. They straight away they start beeping and bonging and they drive you crazy. And then you go to the camera and you go, actually there's still quite a lot of space. What are you freaking out about? But anyway, that's how that works. And then when you hit this button here, then you get all the other facilities that you've got on here. So you got ambience. Ambience is the ambient lighting, and bizarrely the ambient lighting is based on the planets. So you got Earth, you got Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, the Sun itself, Mercury, and it will even tell you the information. The Sun, the average temperature is 5,538 degrees centigrade. Do you need to know that when you're driving? I don't know. It also tells you the diameter. It's 109 times the diameter of Earth. The Mars, for example, is 0.5 the diameter of Earth, but it has 0.4 of the gravity of Earth. Very interesting information. I'm not sure it's the stuff that you want when you're driving. It does have voice control, but the voice control doesn't do the sort of things that, for example, BYD and these other men. For example, if I do that, I say voice control. If I say open the boot.
There's the boot 7.3 miles away.
Yeah, it tries to navigate there. It tries to navigate to the boot, so that it doesn't do that sort of stuff. It won't even open the glove box. So that's all your stuff there. Your stereo shortcuts in ambience and all that. That's on the screen, and you can adjust all of these. Here's the other big thing. Now we're talking about this. Now this doesn't move. It's fixed. Unusual for a mirror, right? It's fixed, but that's because it's digital. And you do have some adjustments in here that you can do. So you can go through. You can. Oops, sorry. If I go through that one, then I can lower it, so then I can just adjust the height of it, you see? And then the other thing is that when you have the reversing one on, which it is on now, if I put it into reverse, then it just dips down a little bit. So it just shows you a little bit more from behind. And oh, by the way, I should have said the gear lever is actually here. And then the lights and your wipers and everything is on this stalk. So there's just two stalks. That's actually a gear lever. That's your lights and your wipers. My goodness. That is a lot of stuff that's on this car, a lot of stuff that we went through. All of the other information, everything is on the screen. It has got a ton of features and what have you. But the main thing I think that we need to do now, and of course there's a driver monitor camera as well, yet another camera there. The main thing that we need to do now is take it for a drive. Hope you're enjoying this video. Make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe if you're not already doing so. And support independent automotive journalism channels like mine. You can do that at patreon.com, coffee.com, or taking out a subscription right here on YouTube. Or you know what, better still, you can go and buy my books. I've got 3 books out now. They're all on Amazon. They're all available to buy. More details on this are in the description, but buying any of these books will certainly help. Thanks so much for watching. Right, so let's take it for a drive. I've been driving it for a while, actually. In fact, I've been driving it for the last few days, and I've mostly been driving around town, around North London, Northwest London, that sort of area. So what I thought I'd do today was sort of bring bring it out of town, give it a little bit of a run, and see what it's like in sort of, you know, more distant areas. Now, I've just driven up on the M1 and I drove 39 miles. I checked on the trip meter. I drove 39 miles. I started off today at 240 mile range. That's what I had, 66%, and 240 mile range is what I had. So I drove 39 miles, and again I drove on the motorway. And with EVs, that's where they tend to suffer, because at higher speeds they tend to actually use a lot more. Around town they're actually pretty good. So I was expecting it to lose quite a bit. In fact, it dropped from 240 to 200. That means it used 40 miles of range, which means that actually it was only one over or two over, you could say 39, 40, yeah, one over. So that's actually not too bad, and it was at 55%. So that's actually better than I thought it would perform. So I'm quite impressed with that. That's actually true to what it was saying, true to what it was claiming. Of course, now we're out of town. We're going to go find some A and B roads. We'll push on a little bit, and then we'll see, you know, what it's showing us afterwards. But initially on the motorway, I thought it did that quite well. On the motorway, I did use the cruise control. What it was like on the motorway, it was smooth, it was quiet, it was serene, got up to speed very quickly, maintained speed very quickly, easily, no problem at all. I used the cruise control, which is actually quite easy to use, despite the fact that I've been struggling with these haptic feel buttons on the steering wheel. But the cruise control buttons, it's just an X and a clock and a reset sort of thing, you know. And you just press the clock and off it goes, it just starts. And then it gives you the controls, it shows you on there that if you press up, down, you can increase, decrease. The speed thing increments were at 5 miles per hour, which I thought was a bit much. You know, I wanted at 70 miles an hour, you jump from 70 to 75. You don't get another option. So I thought, you know, you could do with smaller increments. But anyway, but it was relatively easy to use. It held lane as well, so it does that kind of autopilot thing. The only thing is you can't let go of the steering wheel completely, because after a while it says pull your hands back on the wheel. But it holds the road, it holds the lane, it holds the speed, and it will respond to cars coming in front of you or moving out of the way and stuff like that to try and keep the speed at that same level. Now, whilst we're cruising through these villages, let's talk about this mirror, because this is the main thing, obviously, that was bugging me about this car. There's two aspects of this car: the fact that they blacked out, there is no rear window, and the fact that we've got a digital rear view mirror here. I have driven systems like this in the past. I've always struggled with them, to be honest with you. I've also driven ones where the side mirrors were camera, most recently the Honda E, for example. And I've always found them a bit of a struggle, because I don't feel they give me the depth perception and what have you. This one, they said that this is actually the highest definition, the best one yet, and it is very good. I've got to give you that. I've got to give them that. It is very crisp. It's very clear. There's almost a sense of depth perception to it. I don't know how they've done it, but there almost is. So it's actually really, really good. However, here's the problem that I have with it. If you're a younger person with younger eyes, I think you'll probably be fine with this, no issue whatsoever. But for somebody like me, I wear spectacles, and historically, I was what you would call short-sighted. So I can read, but I need glasses to see distance, right? As you age, of course, you need reading glasses as well. So these spectacles that I'm wearing right now are varifocals. So the varifocals means the top part, I look out the top part and I can see the distance, I can see where I'm going, perfect for driving. This thing has two massive screens, as you know. When I look at the screens, although they're closer, I can see them clearly because I'm looking out the middle or the lower part of the lens, and that is set for reading, and I can see them very, very clearly, no problem at all. Now, the problem with this one is that I'm doing this. To see that clearly, because it's up here and because I need the lower part of my lenses to be able to see it, I have to do that. I mean, I can just about get used to, I mean, I can make it out. It's a little bit fuzzy, but I can make it out through the top part of my lens. But I feel like if I keep doing that, it's going to give me a headache. So it gives you eye strain, right? So that's where that is a problem for me. So what I've resorted to doing is basically using the side mirrors more. I feel that, you know, I can't prove it, but I feel that I'm using the side mirrors more than I am using the center mirror in this particular car. And the other thing that I do, as a sort of traditional driver, if you like, is I do a lot of this. So, you know, I do a lot of looking over my shoulder. Now, on this side, it's not too much of an issue. Actually, maybe a little bit, but not too much, just at the edge of my periphery on the right there. But over this side, so for example, if I'm changing lanes on the motorway, I'll look over the left shoulder like that to make sure that there isn't actually a car there. But it's all blacked out. And you know what, I understand they're going for this novelty thing, they're going for the coupe thing, it's a design feature, we're not going to have a rear window, we've got sophisticated cameras, great. But I don't get it. I'm like, you know, you had the space. You know, you didn't need to be blanked out. You could have just put a slot in there, a window in there that I could have used. So so that for me is like, I don't see what the point was. It's like, you know, I don't think it's necessarily improved things. I think it's overcomplicated things. Well, for example, if this doesn't work? To be honest, what if this screen doesn't work? Because so many things in this car are operated by this screen. Thank God they've given us a knob for the stereo here, because even the haptic control here to turn the volume up and down is a bit confusing, but they have that. But other than that, everything is on the screen here. Come to think of it, you know, if you left the car at the airport and you come back and the battery's dead, how do you even get into it? Because there's no button on the key fob. Anyway, I'm sure it says in the owner's manual, I'm sure there's a way, but anyway, for the short term, how would you know that? So anyway, so that's the main thing. Visibility out the front is not a problem. It's absolutely fine. The bonnet does slope down out of view, but the fenders are upturned. So like this side, you can clearly see the running edge on this side of the fender, so it's easy to place the car. You can just about make out that one as well. You can just see the top of the fender just sort of curving upwards, just kicking upwards right at the edge. So you can see, you can place the car quite easily. And of course, then you've got the camera on here as well, which is slow speeds. You've got a button, so you can hit that immediately, and you can immediately place where you are with the car. So that's all quite handy. We're on some nice roads now. I've been generally driving it in comfort mode most of the time. There is a rigidity, as you always get with EVs, to the platform because the battery's in there. And there is stuff that happens, you know, the steering kind of takes over sometimes and does all these things, and you never quite know what's going on. The other thing about it is that you saw the indicator. If I can do that, tap, tap, tap. That's the indicator sound. And it's kind of weird because it sounds like there's somebody, and it's on each side. So if you indicate right, it taps on this side. If you indicate left, it taps on that side. And the tap is literally like as if there's somebody on the outside standing there tapping on your window. It's very weird. And then the signs for the other warning signs sound like they should be the indicator sound, if you see what I mean. That so boop, 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 that sort of sound, you know. So yeah, again, it's kind of interesting selection of noises that they've got on this thing. There, you can hear it now. Tut, 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 tut. It sounds like tut, tut, tut. What's that about? So the ride otherwise has been pretty good, apart from like when you encounter a speed bump or whatever, or something particularly nasty, then it does transmit because, like I said, it's quite rigid. But overall, it's not too bad at all. So if I go back onto the home screen, and I go into, well actually if I hit the car icon there, I hit the car icon, and then I've got the settings for the car. And as you can see, all the settings, the assist settings and everything are up there. And then you can also see the drive settings. If I hit the drive setting, then I can see all the settings for the modes and all the rest of it. So the suspension is in standard. If I put it into firm, on a bumpy little road like this, I'm just immediately like, you can even hear it in my voice, you know. That's not very comfortable at all. So then let's put it into nimble, because the nimble is supposed to be the compromise between full-on hard sporty setting to something that's a little bit more stable, but you know, not quite as giving. So anyway, we're on a nice bit of road, and we can try, like, so this is a big car. You can feel it on the brakes. You know, the brakes, you know, they take a little while. Oh, the acceleration on this thing, you know, but good road holding, good poise. Don't forget, this is essentially all-wheel drive, so handles like an all-wheel drive. But so far on this road, which is the tightest road, but you can pick up some good speed on here, and it's fairly settled. I think that ride option was the best option for it, really. Brakes, yeah, you can lean on the brakes quite well. Turning is not too bad. The steering I could do, I mean, I've already got the steering in the firm setting. I've kept it in the firm setting from day one because I prefer it that way anyway. So if I go back into that one, so I've got the steering in firm, and I haven't got it on full performance. So let's do that. It's more about range at the moment. So oh yeah, okay, yeah, you can immediately feel that. That is a tremendous. This thing is there's no drama about the acceleration apart from the fact that it throws you back in your seat like nothing else. So that's where it's a little bit, you know, crazy. But other than that, God almighty. So the ride actually still not bad, even though I put it into firm now, but on this tight little twisty road, The brakes you have to really lean on, so it's weird because the regen seems to do a lot of the work, and if you're relying on the brakes alone, whoa, my God, you see, oh my Lord, the acceleration on this thing. The phone actually, the phone holder is actually slanted downwards, and it actually popped out of there. That's how much the acceleration is. The acceleration is absolutely extraordinary on this thing. In fact, I think I've hurt my neck. You know, that's how quick this thing is. So that is quite an extraordinary aspect of it, is the acceleration. But overall, like, the steering is good. You know, there's no feel, of course, whatsoever. There is a stickiness, a goopiness, because it's trying to do other things, you know. But it's generally responsive and it's generally accurate. In that sense, it's okay. Handling pretty tight. Road holding, not a problem. Ride actually quite good. So it's still actually in the nimble mode now, even though I'm on this sort of more smoother road, and it's absolutely fine. So overall, that's good. Braking, I mean, again, like, you know, you have to actually really, like, nobody behind. So I'm just going to go for a full-on. Yeah, I mean, whoa, you know, I don't even know what that was, but yeah, I mean, it does stop, it does hold up the car pretty quickly, but it's not as progressive as I would like. It's sort of either like a little bit of braking or like, oh, all the braking sort of thing. And then of course then you get the regen, so that's a whole different story. Just threading our way through another little village here, and again, you know, you do get the sense of this being a big car. There's no doubt about that. It does have that big car feel. Also in the length, but also particularly in the width of the thing. So with the width, you do have to be a little bit careful, especially when you're in London, you know, when you come up to width restrictions and when there's a lot of traffic and stuff like that. And then it gets a little bit annoying because then the sensors start beeping and bonging, even though you know you've got a bit of space. But anyway, you get used to it. And this is the thing, it's one of these cars where I'm sure, like, the more you spend time with it, and as I've spent a few days with it, I've certainly gotten used to the car and found sort of workarounds to some of the foibles and the unique characteristics of the car. But as one of those cars where, you know, if you just say for example, you hired it at the airport and you jumped into it, it would annoy the heck out of you because there's so many things that are not normal about this car that you have to learn and understand and, you know, find out how this works or how that works or where the buttons are. So that aspect of it is very different. Overall then, the car it's a very good car. It's what you would expect from Polestar, Volvo, effectively, you know. So pretty much what you'd want to get from them. The range still, I mean, so we are now, actually, let's just update on that, because I've done 62 miles. 62 miles is what I've done so on this route. And as I said, I started on 240. I'm now on 177. So that is what, 63 miles. That's not bad, actually, considering that we've been out of town. Okay, to be fair, I have encountered a lot more traffic than I thought I would on this journey, and I've been going perhaps a little bit slower than I thought I would. So maybe that sort of has worked in its favor. But nonetheless, overall, we did do some motorway bits and we did do some fast bits, and I did have it in I think I've still got it in performance mode, actually. So I did do some full bore acceleration runs as well. So, and I don't think I'll do any more because wowzers, that is quick. 3.7 seconds, you really feel it. So in that sense, that's actually, the range actually is quite accurate, not too bad at all. So there you go. I mean, overall, good car. Lots of little foibles and idiosyncrasies, which, you know, you may want to take a little while to get used to. The main thing about it, though, is it worth that much money? Because there are other competitors in the market, you know, for that money, or actually quite a bit less, that do pretty much everything that this car does, and adds a little bit more convenience factor in how you use it. So there is a little bit of an issue. So it's really like, if you buy into the Polestar brand and that's what you want, the brand, that's the car that you want, or that's the brand that you want to represent you, then this is a car that you should look at. Otherwise, I would really shop around and think hard about what you're going to get. But some interesting little features, an interesting car, and my goodness, it's fast. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you hit like, share and subscribe on your way out, and I'll catch you all in the next video.